Welcome to the Evening Review. My name is Sukhane Tlhache. Today we are joined in studio by Marshall Ranger and community activist Sean Naude. But before we go into that interview, please have a look at the front page. Welcome to the Evening Review.
Yes, it's nice to be here. It's nice to be part of this. Thank you.
Towards the end of 2019, if one looks prior to that, we've always known you as a snake guy, as a guy that is driving the ambulance and that is as a first responder. Want to know what led to you becoming involved and aligning yourself to political campaigns?
Okay, yes, I've been involved with the community. I've been out there in the field. I've been involved with people and the needs of the public. So with the emergency services, it's a community service. So I'm a lot in informal settlements. And with being there, my heart broke. Looking at how the people are suffering, how they don't have proper electricity, and this motivated me or provoked me to get involved in politics, because it seems what I was doing was not enough. We needed change. We need leaders who care about the people. And I decided, well, let me get involved, because you don't change a game by sitting on the benches. You go and play the game. And this is what I decided to do. I decided to get actively involved so that I can try and change the game. Yes.
What is your current involvement in politics at this point in time?
Well, when there was the elections, the first elections, the independent candidate, Dr. Itula, ran for independent presidency. And I spent some time with him, so I supported him. And I stood with him. My current position is I'm sworn in as the Deputy of Safety and Amenities for the IPC party.
Okay.
Yes. So I am an official, a founding member of the IPC party.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And then, what in your opinion attracted so many people to the IPC firstly, and then linked to that question is particularly white voters?
Okay, so what attracts people is the fact that we all want change. After so many years of seeing little development, little progress, lots of empty promises, okay, people want change. Now, let's take a game of soccer. If the team is not playing well, you go to the coach or you go to the captain. And if the captain doesn't want to do his duty, you got to look for another captain. You know, you got to make sure that you have a proper leader in leadership. And what made myself and many people, we want change. We want things to be different. We want a different perspective of somebody who's actually caring about the people. So when somebody new comes along, and offers promises, it always sounds inviting. So this is what draws people over to the other side. But for our community as a Caucasian man, a white man, or whatever you want to call us, okay, the thing is, we might feel that this is somebody who cares about all colors, all races. And I think one of the biggest attractions was the fact that Dr. Itula has a white wife, okay, which might have made people think, well, he doesn't care about color. He's not bothered about skin color.
Yes.
And this is what we need. We need to become colorblind in this country if we're going to progress. We cannot continue with this white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black. You're never going to develop. You're never going to, because what you do is you always point out the obvious. Right? So the minute there's conflict, what do people do? They play the race card. And the race card is a destructive card, because we grew up with all races. And we have friends of all races. My children play with all races. But if you look at other parties, they seem to be biased, favoring only one race. And with the IPC came the option of us living together in unity, all races. And I think this is why a lot of white Caucasian people have moved over to support the IPC party.
There's a very controversial, if I can call it that, policy framework that is currently out, new equitable economic empowerment framework.
Yes.
You've got within your party, there are these two elements, widely supported. You've got a lot of the African vote, black vote. You've got a lot of the white vote. But then, you know, there's this ideological division that NEEEF is seen as taking from whites and giving to blacks, and then blacks could see this as taking from, as saying, no, but the playing field was never equal, you know, this sort of makes when we come to the table, it makes us all equal. Ideologically, within the party and as an individual, how do you view this, and where do you reconcile this key thing?
Look, I'm going to tell you like this. If we keep living in the past, we are never going to progress. All right? We do understand there is a past. But I am not my father. I don't even think my father was accountable for the apartheid era. You know what I mean? So to keep blaming, shifting blame. We're now 30 years independent, all right? We're long independent. We have a new government, a new structure, but yet there is still not running water, ablution, proper housing, electricity in the informal settlements. So the question is it really the previous regime's fault, okay, that the people are suffering now? So what you do is, when you take over a country, you become independent, right? So then you take the drawing board and you start a fresh page. But if you keep going back and blame shifting and keep forcing other people to focus, it was the white man, it was the white man. It's going to be a generational curse which goes from generation to generation. So you keep passing the blame to the past. You are here now. It is what you do now that makes the difference for the future. So if we can turn around and take a clean page and say, okay, this is the land, this is the situation, this is how do we live to coexist? How do we, and this is what I'm doing with wildlife too. It's education. We have a lack of knowledge and a lack of education. So once and I will say that from my side, personal opinion, the fault of the previous regime was denying education and knowledge. If we had just allowed people to, it's okay if you keep, I mean, tribalism is bigger in Namibia than racism. That is a fact. Tribalism in Namibia is a bigger problem than actual racism. All right? We have tribes that are continuously conflicting. I work in the informal settlements, and I can see that there is conflict amongst the tribes. So it is a bigger problem because you're on a massive scale. The white community is very small if you look at the perspective, but if you keep blaming the white people for your problems, you're going to miss the point. And the point is, we need to learn to coexist. We need to educate each other about how we're going to go forward. You take your information, your knowledge, your skills, and you work it together. But the problem is a mindset. We have it's not a color problem. It's a mind problem. It's a mentality problem. And unfortunately, we have leaders with the wrong mentality who will rather build statues and monuments, okay, than invest in the community. And this is where we have a problem, and that's got nothing to do with color. When the new government took over, what did they do? They started erecting monuments and building big buildings. Why didn't they develop the rural areas? Now you've got an influx from the rural areas to Windhoek, to the center, so there's an overpopulation. And you've got informal settlements that they're living on top of each other. The urine is running in the streets. So there was no planning. But we've got beautiful statues. We've got beautiful monuments. We've got big buildings. But that glorifies man. And that doesn't speak. You see, as a leader, you're supposed to serve the people. And then the people will honor you. But what I've seen since independence is it's self-glorification. It's all about us. Look, we are the leaders. But people don't understand. Presidents in a democratic country are voted by the people, for the people, to represent the people, which means our tax money pays his salary. But we have a mentality that we treat them like gods, like kings. And this is what happened with the apartheid era. There was this, where the white people were trying to be dominating over the black people. And the black people felt inferior to the white people. We are all human. You cut me, I bleed, you bleed. We didn't have this mindset of, you know what, let's respect each other. And this is what's lacking. So the only way we're going to go forward is if, you know, I kept getting told that we want land, land. But look who owns most of the land now. It's not the white people. The white people don't have the majority land anymore. A lot of the land has been taken, and a lot of high-ranking government officials own huge pieces of land. So how can you point the finger at the white people? We are way past that. But if you live in the past, you will never progress and never go forward.
I want to add to that, and since you raised the land issue, also add to that, you know, we've got policy of, would not call it willing buyer, willing seller in terms of now addressing the disparities, and also issues related to affirmative action. You know, what, you know, as policy frameworks, are we going about this in the right way from government's perspective now in addressing past inequalities and injustices?
Well, you see, the thing is, there will always be those who take and those who give. And if we do not look at the policies in perspective that everybody benefits, we are going to suffer. We're going to sit with a situation where we're going to have a big separation, the wealthy and the poor. And it's going to stay like that. Unless we change our mindset and we turn around and say, you know what, I have 5 plots, all right? Let me give 3 for development and for others. But you see, especially in this time of COVID and that, where money is being held tight, people are holding on to whatever they've got. And this is where selfishness comes in. We need to learn to be accommodating to everybody. And right now, I think the whole policies need to be reviewed for everybody, regardless of white, black, colored, you name it. It's irrelevant. We need to look at this as a people. as a nation, and how we're going to benefit so that everybody gets a piece of the pie, you know, and we're not doing that. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And this has got nothing to do with color, because I can tell you, I know a lot of poor white people, you know. So there's no white privilege. I don't know white privilege. I lived on the streets. I worked my whole life. I worked hard to be where I am. And I'm sick and tired of being told that white privilege, it's because you're a white man, No, I worked. A lot of the farmers worked for where they are today. And we need to accept this. It's not about your privilege because of your skin color. Unfortunately, there was this era that we went through, but we're not going to get through it, and we're not going to go forward, because right now we're seeing a reverse. We're seeing a lot of wealthy black people who are not sharing. They have 4 or 5 farms, you know. How can you blame the white people for that? You have government officials who have huge houses, but in Kuriangava and Havana and that, they're living in shacks that are falling apart. So where is it a color issue? It's a mental issue. It's a mindset issue. And we need to get this straightened out.
You mentioned that you serve within the leadership of the IPC. Of late, there are a lot of statements where we see people leaving the party, and then it's blamed on that there's an element of dictatorship existing within the party, and what is your response to that, serving at that level in the party?
Okay, a lot of people came into the party expecting and wanting, demanding. Remember, this is something fresh, it's something new. So when they didn't get positions they wanted, they turned against. And this is in any form of relationship. When you're not happy with what you're getting out of the relationship, you turn against the person. In the beginning, you love, you support, you everything. But now all of a sudden, you thought you were going to be a leader. You thought you were going to become a deputy. You thought you were going to, because you got money, or because you got influence, or because somebody respected in your settlement or your area, you automatically thought that this gives you position. And where I've noticed in the IPC, unless you earn it, you're not going to get it. So those who ran away, all right, are those who gave up when they didn't get what they wanted. This is how I see it. I know some of the leaders I've been monitoring and I've been seeing. I personally don't like to get involved too much, because this bickering amongst each other. I know Dr. Itula. I've spent time with Dr. Itula. We've even had our own little clashes between each other, my opinion, his opinion. But he doesn't impose his opinion on me, because he knows I won't accept it. If you have a leader, you must stand up to your leader and not be a coward. And the thing, what I like about the IPC is, we are a party, all right? But we are an organization run together by a group of people. The chief patriot has to make decisions based on what the founding leaders have agreed on. It's like a round table, like the Knights of the Round Table. He cannot make decisions where we have in government where the president has sole mandate on making certain decisions. He cannot, he can decide, well, we're going to do this, and the country just goes with it. This is more in the line of dictatorship, where one man has so much power. Where in IPC, one man doesn't have all the power. We, as a founding organization, as a founding members, equally have a say. And if you can't get into this circle, all right, the round table, and you go and run and badmouth us because you didn't earn your place, all right, don't go and cry. Don't go and badmouth us because you didn't get what you wanted. That's childish. I'm saying to every single one of those that ran away, all right, go and look into yourself, because you didn't get what you wanted. You didn't get the needs met that you wanted, so you ran away. Now you badmouth us. But once you spoke good about us, like I said, it's like a relationship. Lots of relationships start good. They get spoiled, they get everything they want. Yay, it's good, it's lovely. But the minute they don't get what they want, they turn against you. And they badmouth you. And they speak bad to other people. And this breaks down the character. But we're still standing strong. There are some of us in the party that we're not wavered. We're not bothered. You know, as the head of the Namibian Marshal Rangers, I have members all over Namibia. They come, they go. Some betray you, some speak bad about you. So what? I believe in God, and I believe in country. And I believe that a branch, let me give you this last example. The IPC is a seed that was put into the nation's ground. And we gave it water. And it's starting to grow. Some branches will grow, and then they will stop growing. And they will die, and they will fall off. Some branches will grow, and they will bear fruit. All right? The ones that bear fruit are the ones that should stay. But you can look at any tree. There's dead branches. There's branches that serve no purpose. You've got to accept that this is the process of growth. And only the strongest will survive. And I believe fully, let me put it to you this way. I'll tell you honestly, and all of you, I was a member of SWAPO. I was a strong supporter of SWAPO. I used to perform at SWAPO rallies and stuff. I've spent time with the dignitaries and the ministers and stuff. But what I saw was not beneficial to the nation as a whole. And I saw that there was a direct division between the elites and the public and the nation. And this is wrong. If you're a leader, you must be submissive to your people, serve your people, and then your people will raise you to your glory. You don't sit and demand and dictate. And this is where the IPC is different, and this is where I admire Dr. Itula, who walked for miles, all right, to show people. I own a limousine. When I met Dr. Itula, I said to him, my limousine is available to you for all your rallies. He said to me, no, thank you. I will walk. That is admirable. That is something to look at. A leader who is willing to serve the people. And that's what this country needs.
I want to touch on other aspects of what you do, and that of you being a Marshal Ranger community activist. The Namibian reported recently that you would stop this whole exercise of going into the communities and removing snakes and so forth. What led to that? I just want to, you know, deeper perspective from
Okay,
your side.
once again, I've been working with animals my whole life, wildlife and that. So I've got a passion for protection, and this is where education comes in. I want to help people, and then I was called once by the Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism to help them with a snake catch. I went and caught the snakes, and I saw that people, especially from rural areas and that, think that snakes are monsters. They've got all these cultural beliefs and myths. So I started studying snakes, and I started helping the ministry with all wildlife to protect them. And I started doing educational programs. But the thing is, I was getting no support. And people were like, we just kill snakes. It's in our culture to do it. Yeah. So I was spending a lot of money, and I was going out at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was going through kabashos for 2 hours just to find there's no snake. Or they call you and you drive all the way to Havana and you get there and they've killed the snake. So it's very frustrating. And then you don't get support from the ministry. The ministry who's supposed to be, who's asking you to help them, are not helping you. I've gone through 3 vehicles in the last 6 years because some of the places like Kuriangap and that, it's just like this, you know, and you're driving and you're messing up your shocks and your CV joints and everything. And you cannot charge the people because those people don't have money. A $50 or $100 is a lot of money for them. It's a meal or 2 meals. So you cannot charge them. But if I had to charge them, they will kill. So you're not conserving the animals. So I decided, you know what, until the nation realizes the importance and they start supporting, especially government, the lack of interest in wildlife conservation and preservation in Namibia, education. I struggled for 3 years to try and get a permit just to open a reptile park in Windhoek or outskirts of Windhoek so that we can educate people, because education is the key to conservation. But I cannot fit this as an individual anymore. I'm already running my ambulance service at 85% pro bono, which means my ambulance service is running at 85% free calls to the community. All 4 of my ambulances went down in 2 months. I don't have an ambulance at the moment. We're busy spending a lot of money fixing them. And the same with my conservation. There is lack of support. And people are just killing, and they don't realize that we need these animals. They play a vital role. And if we get rid of the predators, the pests are going to take over. And then we're sitting, there was a plague in Europe. It was called the Black Plague, okay? And it was from mites, like ticks kind of thing, that were on rats. And this killed millions of people. These rats and mice bring disease into your house. And you need a predator to control this. So we need to educate. But I've decided, you know what? If the country can't support me, I'm just gonna. I'm still involved in wildlife conservation and education. I make educational videos. I teach other guys who are interested, especially rural areas, how to remove snakes, how to stuff like that. But actively in the field, I'm exhausted. Financially, mentally, emotionally, I'm exhausted.
Last question. And I've followed a number of your videos on social media. You'd see where one sees you taking, for example, a zebra snake or a black mamba, and the way you handle it, I know you said it that you're the first man to kiss a black mamba.
Yeah, first guy on earth to kiss a black mamba.
And you've got a huge following. With a lot of people that I'm sure look up to you and aspire to do what you do. If you go to that extent of working in the way that you do with these animals, don't you think that somebody else could be led into trying to mimic your behavior?
I got you. I've been told, I've been ridiculed, especially by other snake handlers, all right? So what I will do is, I will first tell people don't do what I'm doing, okay? But what I'm doing through this is to show people that snakes are not the monsters we've made them out to be. That if you leave them alone or you treat them right, they are no threat to us. A snake will only bite, spray in this in defense. So what I do is I teach people through this that they are not the monsters. And when I kissed the black mamba, it was to show people, because of all the snakes in the world, the black mamba has the worst reputation. And I just wanted to prove to the world that black mambas are not these monsters we make them out to be. There's so many myths, cultural beliefs and stuff. But when people ask me, but Sean, little kids are going to try and do the same thing, or what? I say to them, you know what? You allow your child to watch WWF. You allow your child to watch motocross freestyle, right? It is for you to educate your child and for you to take responsibility for your own actions. If I go and watch motocross and a guy's doing flips and stuff like that, right? I must, in myself, think, am I going to take that risk? So it's on ourselves. I mean, you cannot, Evel Knievel used to jump over buses. Yes, there were a lot of people that injured themselves doing the same thing. But this is upon yourself and as a parent to educate your child and say, look, this guy is a trained professional, all right? He knows what he's doing. Don't try it. And on my posts, I also say, please don't do what I'm doing, all right? Like cigarettes, it's got a warning label, but I can't force you not to smoke that cigarette. The warning label's there. But I can't force you. And if you still decide to smoke and you get lung cancer, well, that's your problem. You need to take responsibility for your own actions. I am not going to change who I am to please other people. We are extremists. You get people who jump, bungee jumping, freestyling, all these things. We are extremists. We show people what there is and what humans are capable of doing. But I'm not saying do what I do. But I also do educational videos on how to remove snakes, how to use tools if you have tools. So I do this too. But me free handling snakes is just trying to show people that they are not as dangerous as we make them out to be. And this is to show that we have a myth about snakes. And this has caused fear. And for our own insecurities, everything we fear as humans, we kill. Every time you fear something, you kill it. So I'm saying, if you do watch some of my videos, don't do what I do, okay? But understand that snake is not the monster you made it out to be. And this is my message behind that. If you do what I do and you get bitten, well, you took it upon your own risk. I got bitten by a puff adder. After years and years of handling a snake, I made one silly move, holding a puff adder close to my body, and he fell here, and I tried to grab him, and I realized I was pulling him here, so I put my hand, and he struck me on my finger. I accepted the consequences. It was my own foolishness. But I've handled 100 puff adders without ever getting bitten. It's on your own and at your own risk.
Thank you very much for joining us on the Evening Review.
It's always a pleasure, and yeah, as I say, be wise and save lives.
Thank you for tuning in. Do stay tuned for the weather. Good night.